Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Tales of the Valiant CR Exposed. On today's episode we are going to look at the lowly CR 1/2 or 1/4 Goblin. But before we do that, let's take care of the business quick. If you like what I'm doing here and you'd like to get this tool for yourself to make very balanced, perfectly balanced monsters for your Tales of the Valiant games, go ahead and grab yourself a copy of my spreadsheet from the link in the description at my Ko-fi page, where you can get it completely for free, or you can donate if you feel so obliged to. Beyond that, there are a bunch of other ways to support the channel by checking out some of the other stuff I have to offer on my Ko-fi page, where we have a whole bunch of custom classes, actual new classes for Tales of the Valiant and 5th edition, as well as subclasses for your fun and fighting pleasure needs, and a bunch of random extra stuff there as well. There's also monsters and some other random items that I have on my Ko-fi page. Beyond that, you can also join the channel here. For $1 a month, as low as $1 a month, you can join the channel, get videos and stuff completely early and before everyone else. Or you can donate monthly at my Ko-fi page as well to support there. I'm working on ways of trying to get everything situated so it's a little more enticing for people to support the work here. Beyond that, also like, subscribe, share, comment would also be super greatly appreciated. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump into this Goblin here. Now, as you'll see here, I have the Goblin text on the side, so I don't have to worry about blurring out any kind of artwork or what have you, and I'm just going to go from that. So, we have ourselves a Goblin CR 1/4 from Tales of the Valiant. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to 1/4, which is going to be a -1. The negative numbers are just an easier way to represent the half numbers, and it helps adjust things a little easier. Although, ironically enough, in Tales of the Valiant, we don't really need to worry about the 1/4, 1/2, and all the fractions, because the bar doesn't adjust like it does in the 5th edition version. But in any event, let's go ahead and keep on moving here. We're going to throw in the modifiers next of a -1 strength, +4 dexterity, which is really high for a CR 1/4 monster. That's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Also, just to reflect here, because of the way Tales of the Valiant works, if you haven't seen these videos before, we start with a baseline here. Our monster is supposed to be a balanced monster at CR 1/4 here, so we're expecting a proficiency bonus of 2, 10 to 12 AC, 15 hit points, 3 to 4 attack bonus, 5 to 7 damage, and a 10 to 12 save bonus if we need that, or save difficulty check. And then from there, depending on how our monster works out, the hit points will adjust. So that's the only thing that's different here. Basically, the monster stays pretty much in line with what they have here, and then the hit points will go up or down. That's pretty much it. Of course, if we give our monster higher or lower bonuses, then we'll probably see different things as well, potentially, or at least we should. But in some cases, like with the attack bonus or the DC, it doesn't modify, which I think is a bit of an oversight, but still. This is what they suggest doesn't matter. Now, with that, let's go ahead and put in our AC. We have a 15 of AC. An AC of 15 with leather armor and a shield. Now, right now, our Goblin has a bonus of 14 working off the dexterity, so we're just going to go ahead and add in a 1 here to give it a 15, which is now adjusting our hit points a little bit. From there, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some other stuff. We are expecting a 12 for our hit points adjustment once we're done. So that's the target we're trying to hit here, to make sure that our Goblin matches what they have in the book here for the Monster Vault 1. And I say Monster Vault 1 because there is a Monster Vault 2 in the works. Now, from there, we actually do need to take a look at the speed. If the speed was anything below 30, we would actually have to update that, because our monsters do get bonus hit points when their speed is much lower. Very similar to oozes and the like. Anything that's extremely slow, can't get to the characters as much, or the players, and then we give them extra hit points to deal with that. From there, we move on. We can actually skip over the rest of this because we're not worried about building out an actual monster. We've already have our stats, and we can go into our actions. Now, normally we'd go next into maybe the monster's traits, but we don't have any traits for the monster. Everything is in the actions or the bonus action. So we have a Scimitar here, which is a +4 to hit, which means when we look at the attack bonus, we are definitely getting our bonus from Dexterity, which is a 6. Alright, so that's not right. Alright, so I know what's going on here now. So remember when I said the 4 was extremely high? Well, that's because actually what's going on here is that they have proficiency in Dexterity. So we have to come back here, change this to a 2, click the proficiency, and now we'll see that we have a save modifier of a 4, while our actual Dexterity bonus is only a 2, which is proper. This is where it should be. Now we see that our Dexterity has come down to a 4, and we are right in line with the short bow and scimitar actions of our Goblin from Tales of the Valiant. From there, we just go ahead and add in the damage, which is going to be 1d6 plus Dexterity, giving us 5.5 damage. Now, our short bow and our scimitar are both doing the same amount of damage, so I'm not going to worry about multiplying this out, or doing multiples of this, because it's just the same damage. Now, as things work out, we would remove the half when printing it to the book, but technically this is 5.5 because it's an odd number of dice. But because we're only doing one attack, we don't really need to worry about the half die, so to say. And we can just kind of move on from there. Now we do have another feature here called Gang Up, which is once per day. The goblin moves up to half its speed towards a creature it can see. Each friendly goblin within 30 feet can use its reaction to join in on the Gang Up and move to half its speed as well. This doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity, and the target makes a DC 12 Dex save. Now, as we saw before, our DC should be a 12. We're expected to have a 10 to 12, and this is working out exactly where it should be, because likely the monster is using its Dexterity for this save. Now, any creatures in there, the target of the attack takes 5 bludgeoning damage on a failed save, or half as much for each goblin after the first that participated in the gang up, and that is within 10 feet of the target. The damage is increased by 1 as arrows, knives, sharp pocket scraps, and similar weapons fly at the target. This one's kind of tricky to suggest how much this may be including into the damage, and it's likely that, well, actually, since it's only once per day, this may actually average out to be close to 5 to 7 anyways. So let's see here, we have ourselves a multi-target effect. No, it's not really multi-target because it's only one target, so we're doing 2. So let's go ahead and say 2d4 here for 5 even, and then we can add 1 for each other goblin that's in the pack. Now, in theory, technically, I would say maybe there's 2 more goblins that are within range that can help with the attack. So we might say, you know, this could be 2 more. I'll just go with 2 more for this extra attack here. So we'll say 5 here, plus an extra 2, just to say, like, hey, maybe there's 3 goblins within range. Unless, you know, you're using the goblin with higher level players, then you can have a whole bunch of goblins gang up. But for the meantime, we're going to suggest that this goblin group is probably within range of a standard group of players that are within range of like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. So from there, we're going to go ahead and throw these all into our rounds of combat. So we'll do the gang up. I don't know, it doesn't really matter which order we put this in, but we are going to use it once because we can do it once per day, and then we will go ahead and throw in the 5.5 in the other areas, which will end up giving us approximately 6 actual DPR per round, which doesn't bring us outside of the scope of what we're expected of 5 to 6 because of the averaging here. So that's good to see. Our goblin, even with the gang up, now is perfectly fine. If, let's say, we went up and added in a couple more goblins, let's say there's 4 in the gang up. Well, it's still not really adjusting the goblin's DPR here. As we can see, it's gone for hasn't moved anywhere, even though we've added in 2 more points of damage because of the lower rank from our regular attacks of the short bow or the scimitar. Our damage hasn't really moved. So luckily, it doesn't really seem to matter whether or not we have a whole bunch of goblins in the group, and hopefully your encounters are balanced, because goblins, not necessarily goblins, but monsters in Tales of the Valiant, are extremely dangerous in this game. If you've watched any of my live streams or actual plays, you'll notice that, you know, some of these monsters hit pretty hard, or hit above what you would expect from a D&D 5th edition game. Now that we have gang up out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the bonus action here of Nimble Escape. Now, the goblin takes the disengage or hide action. Now, similar to their 5th edition cousins, goblins have nimble escape in this game as well, and they can disengage or hide. The difference here, the big difference, is that in 5th edition, they end up getting a +4 effective AC bonus, which is insane. I've always complained about how this feature is completely skewed. When we look here in Tales of the Valiant, we don't necessarily have anything that says like, oh hey, when the goblin takes a disengage, or the hide action. The closest we actually have is flyby. Flyby or similar traits that allow the creature to always ignore attacks of opportunity. Because our goblin can disengage as a bonus action and then move, this is definitely very similar to the flyby. So I would definitely recommend adding this into our goblin to see where our hit point adjustment is. On top of that, we also have the hide action, which is kind of similar. The hide action just obviously lets us hide our goblin, then they can move, change their attack position, and then on the next round, attack, hide, move again. That's probably your best bet when using these goblins, is to definitely attack, then hide, then move. They should always be doing that kind of strategy to move around the battlefield, which technically will make them much deadlier. But let's see here. Now that we have everything set up, what are we looking at for our expected adjusted hit points? And sure enough, we are looking at a 12. So, as it stands, using all of the features here that our goblins have for Tales of the Valiant, we have ourselves a perfectly balanced CR 1/4 goblin, which is really great to see. Again, I go back to, not to harp on the point, but to go back to the 5th edition goblins and that +4 effective AC bonus, totally skews the monster, doesn't give it the proper adjustments that it needs, and throws the game way off. I wish 5th edition had the level of refinement that Tales of the Valiant does for its monsters. Hell, I might even look at making a similar table like this for 5th edition monsters to see if they're even, if they're calculated even better, because they did their work here. Tales of the Valiant did an amazing job making their monsters properly balanced so that your encounters are as dangerous as they seem to be on paper. In any event, rant over. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been the Goblin from Tales of the Valiant, and I hope you check out this game. It's a much better system than 5th edition. I haven't tried out some of the rules for 2024, but regardless, they've done an amazing job. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.